I once kindly helped a male deskmate who was bullied. He was being picked on, so I stood up for him. His family was poor, so I brought him breakfast every day, until that day, when he shyly confessed to me under the teasing of the others. I rejected him. As a result, later on, I heard him in the school restroom, smoking, saying, "Diana, I already had her." Don't be fooled by her act of purity. She was actually very eager. I fell from grace, from being the star student to the subject of ridicule. When my father went to confront his family, his mentally ill father stabbed him to death. My mother couldn't take the blow and passed away shortly after. And yet, he reached out to me from the dirt, cruelly smiling, saying, "Diana, you used to be high up in the sky, out of my reach, but now, we're both rotting in the mud together." When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first day my deskmate transferred to my school. Chapter 1. The first class on a morning in my second year of high school. The homeroom teacher led a boy with his head hung low into the classroom. "Today, we have a special student transferring into our class. I hope you all treat him well and avoid discrimination." Everyone curiously glanced at the new student. As he raised his head, the room collectively gasped. Half of his face was burned, with no eyebrows, and his eyes seemed to be cut directly into his skin. Whispers soon followed. "Wow, this guy is really ugly. There's nothing decent to look at on his face. What bad luck. Out of all the classes, why did they put him in ours? Just looking at his face makes me lose my appetite for lunch. So disgusting. How does he dare to walk around with a face like that?" As the murmurs continued, the boy's head sank lower and lower, his hands clutching his faded pants tightly. My deskmate nudged me with a smirk. Guess how he got that scar on his face? Maybe his parents accidentally burned him, but I was suddenly jolted awake. Raphael. I had gone back to the first day Raphael transferred to our class, the day where all the nightmares began. In my previous life, Raphael was discriminated against by all the classmates after transferring. He was the oldest in the class, 19 years old, shorter than the 17-year-old girls, and extremely ugly. He was withdrawn and gloomy, and almost no one spoke to him. But I, with a strong sense of justice, stood up and invited Raphael to be my deskmate. I scolded every classmate who mocked him. At this moment, faced with my friend's question, I unexpectedly blurted out, "Who knows? Maybe it's his own fault." By now, the teacher had started arranging Raphael's seat. The teacher let him choose where to sit, but wherever Raphael passed, the students avoided him like the plague, as if he were some kind of monster, until Raphael slowly approached me. Can I sit next to you?" But unlike in my previous life, where I had proactively invited him to be my deskmate, I stood up and said to the teacher, "Teacher, I don't want to sit next to him. If he has to sit here, I'd rather sit by the podium." The teacher looked a bit awkward, and Raphael gave me a strange look. "Diana, I just said we shouldn't discriminate against new students. Your attitude isn't conducive to class unity." I didn't listen at all. Since heaven had given me a second chance, I would show no kindness to Raphael. At this moment, a girl next to me sarcastically said, "Some people collect awards for being outstanding students, but they're just hypocrites. The new student only wants to sit next to you, but you can't hide your disgust. Can you?" I turned to look at the speaker. It was Gloria. In my previous life, she competed with me for class leader but lost and held a grudge against me ever since. Later, when Raphael spread false rumors about me, she was the one who told the teacher and made it public knowledge. I sneered at her and said, "If you're so sympathetic, why don't you let the new student sit next to you?" Gloria's face turned ugly at my words, and she fell silent. I continued, "What's wrong? Didn't you just stand up for the new student? Why are you backing down now? Or are you disgusted by how he looks, too?" I deliberately emphasized how he looks, and I could feel Raphael trembling beside me, his head lowering even more. Provoked by my words, Gloria couldn't help but reply, "Diana, you're being too harsh. Teacher, let the new student sit next to me. I don't mind." In the end, Raphael became Gloria's deskmate. I watched as Gloria pretended not to mind and helped Raphael tidy his desk while suppressing her disgust. I sighed in relief. While I couldn't stop Raphael from transferring into our class, I could avoid any contact with him. The tragedies of my past life would not happen again. But this time, Raphael's deskmate was Gloria, and she was the one standing up for him. Would my fate from the previous life become hers this time? Chapter 2. The morning class quickly passed amid gossip about the new deskmate. As soon as class ended, my best friend couldn't help but lean over and say, "This isn't like you. Why do I feel like you have some hostility towards the new student with the scars? You've always been someone who stands up for others. I thought you'd help him." My hand trembled as I packed up my stationery. So, the impression I left on others was that of a naive do-gooder who liked to stand up for the weak. Is that why Raphael confessed to me in my previous life? And when I rejected him, he spread those filthy rumors and smeared my name? In his eyes, was I never supposed to say no? I once read something online: stay away from people with physical defects because most of them have psychological issues too. My deskmate seemed surprised by my words, staring at me in disbelief. But I didn't want to continue the conversation. Right now, I just wanted to find an excuse to go home and see my parents. In my previous life, Raphael's rumors about me spread like wildfire throughout the entire high school. Because Raphael was disabled, the school, eager to show how accommodating they were, only gave him a mild reprimand. Then they turned around and accused me of inappropriate behavior, even forcing me to drop out before investigating the truth. My father, furious, went to confront Raphael's family, but was stabbed to death by his mentally unstable father. My mother couldn't accept the court's ruling and filed appeal after appeal, all of which failed. I still remember that night when I slapped myself repeatedly, crying and begging my mother to forgive me. Is it wrong to help people? Why does kindness never get repaid? My mother said, helping others is not wrong, but you must first ensure your own safety. I've always wanted you to be a kind person, but selfishly, I wish you had never helped him. Then your father would still be alive. After that, she jumped from the rooftop. To this day, I can still recall Raphael's arrogant and cruel smile. He said that mentally ill people couldn't be punished for murder. Now that his useless father had been locked in a mental hospital, my father had solved a big problem for him. He even said that with my parents gone, we were the same. We had both fallen into the mud, and we could finally be together forever. So, the story of the frog and the scorpion had been playing out right in front of me all along. Because of my actions, my parents had suffered such terrible fates. Now, I just wanted to make sure they were safe and still alive in this world. Before I could even make it to the office to ask for leave, I saw Raphael being shoved into the bathroom by a group of boys from our class. I remembered this. In my previous life, Raphael was bullied as soon as he arrived, targeted by a group of troublemakers in the class. Not only did they show no sympathy for his appearance, but they treated him as a freak. They forced him to drink from the toilet, verbally humiliated him, and even took turns urinating on his head. I couldn't stand it at the time and stepped in front of Raphael, beating up the boys who bullied him. From that point on, Raphael saw me as his savior, the only person who could pull him out of the mud. Now, faced with the same situation from my past life, I definitely wouldn't stand up for someone like Raphael again. His so-called sensitivity, inferiority, and pity were all just disguises. Deep down, he was nothing more than a dark, twisted, and malicious psychopath. I took 2 steps back, avoiding Raphael's pleading gaze. I watched as the boys pinned his head down, his face covered in dirty water. Yet, he still desperately reached out, trying to grab my pants. Help me, but I dodged his touch. A single thought echoed in my mind: give up the savior complex. Respect other people's fates. Just then, Gloria walked out of the classroom. For a moment, I thought she would hypocritically step in to help, but she acted as if she hadn't seen anything and went back into the classroom. I found it quite amusing. Raphael was being bullied. His school uniform reeked, and his hair was wet, clinging to his face in strands. I watched as Gloria covered her mouth in exaggerated disgust. Raphael, what happened to you? Are you okay? Did someone bully you? Tell me. I'll go report it to the teacher. Gloria acted very sympathetically toward Raphael, but Raphael kept his head down, silent. Occasionally, He would glance up, seemingly thoughtful as he looked at me. An alarm went off in my head. Something felt off. I hadn't extended a hand to help him in this life. So why was he staring at me? Could it be that even as his enemy, he would still hold a grudge against me? Chapter 3. I wasn't actually afraid of Raphael holding a grudge against me, because deep down, he was the type to bully the weak and fear the strong. He wouldn't dare take revenge on those who bullied and harassed him. Instead, he would align himself with them, and those who helped and cared for him, he would do everything he could to take advantage of them, believing their kindness was something he was entitled to. In this life, I didn't help him. I didn't offer to be his deskmate, nor did I step in when he was bullied. In my previous life, I spent countless nights hating myself for helping, for letting my sympathy get the better of me, and for bringing disaster upon my family. I glanced at him coldly. What are you looking at? Is there a flower on my face? I wasn't the one who bullied you. Raphael, hurt, quickly averted his gaze, lowering his head and clenching his fists, his lips pressed together in stubborn silence. That's how Raphael was in my previous life. Whenever something happened, he would lower his head, stay silent, and tears would well up in his eyes. It was because of his pitiful appearance that I couldn't help but step in to help him again and again. His behavior, of course, drew laughter from the boys around him. They didn't hesitate to mock him. A grown man crying, "Maybe you should start wearing a skirt. Though you're so ugly. Seeing you in a skirt would probably make us lose our appetite." Exactly. Having someone like him in our class really drags down the average attractiveness of our group. By now, one of the troublemakers from earlier classes had come over to my desk. He swaggered up, smirking. Well, looks like our class leader doesn't like this ugly freak either. How about we have some more fun with him? I glared at this troublemaker. His name was Justin. In my previous life, he had a crush on me, but I rejected him multiple times. When he saw me getting close to Raphael, being kind to him, he was even more upset. So, he came up with a plan to encourage Raphael to confess to me publicly, hoping to humiliate me. He was no good either. Seeing that I didn't respond, Justin assumed I was giving silent approval. He leaned closer and whispered in my ear. I heard his dad's an idiot and that his family lives on welfare. Every month, they live off government assistance. Do you think if I made him pay protection money, he and his dumb dad would have to start eating air? Ha ha ha. I slammed my book down on his hand, which was resting on my desk. He winced in pain, pulling his hand back, glaring at me. Are you crazy? Trying to play hero? Hearing this, Raphael, who had been keeping his head down, suddenly looked up. He glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. I sneered. Extortion? Maybe you should look up how many years that could get you in prison. Don't worry, though, you're a minor, so they won't sentence you too harshly. At most, you'll spend a few years in a juvenile detention center. Justin glared at me angrily. So, you are standing up for him, huh? No, I'm just telling you, stay away from him, or you'll end up cursed. As I walked out of the classroom, I noticed Raphael's gaze becoming stranger by the second. Chapter 4. After classes ended in the afternoon, most of the students went back to their dorms. Since I had requested leave to go home, I left the school early, but just as I stepped out of the gate, I heard a cautious voice behind me. Thank you for speaking up for me this afternoon. I turned around and saw Raphael following me without me even realizing it. Immediately, I grew wary, stepping back and glaring at him with undisguised disgust. What do you want? Why are you following me out of school? He hurriedly waved his hands, his burned face twisting into an awkward smile in an attempt to appear harmless. But that smile only looked more terrifying. I'm sorry. Did I scare you? I didn't mean any harm. I'm a day student, and I just wanted to thank you. I know you're different from those classmates who mock me. You've always been a good person. He stammered, looking at me with anticipation. That's when I remembered that Raphael, because of his family's poverty, had always been a day student. The school had arranged for him to receive financial aid, so he could eat lunch at school, but he had to go home for dinner. But all I felt was a wave of nausea. Thank me? You must be mistaken. I had no intention of helping you. Honestly, You disgust me, not because of your appearance, but because of the stench of your soul. Raphael, you'd better stay far away from me, or I won't hesitate to treat you the same way they do. I had no desire to go from being a victim to becoming a bully, but if becoming a bully meant keeping Raphael away from me and protecting my family from disaster, then I was willing to do it. My principles and morals were built on the foundation of ensuring that neither I nor my family would be harmed. Raphael stood there, frowning, as if he couldn't understand why I would say such things. As I walked away, I heard him mumbling to himself, "This isn't right. She shouldn't treat me like this. I'm so pitiful. She should be more sympathetic to my situation." Hearing those words sent a chill up my spine, as if a venomous snake was slowly crawling up my leg. Chapter 5. I returned home and saw my parents, still alive. I couldn't hold back my tears of joy. Thankfully, I still had time, this life. I could still protect my little family. Because of everything related to Raphael, I became extra cautious. I wasn't afraid of much, except the possibility that Raphael, like me, had also been reborn. If that were the case, everything I did would be in vain. So, I preemptively warned my parents, telling them I had encountered some bad things at school. I told them about the things that hadn't yet happened, explaining that these events would smear my reputation. I described what was to come and emphasized that even trying to communicate with Raphael's family would be useless. His father had a mental illness, and we were powerless against such a family. I also made it clear that I didn't want this to affect my performance on the college entrance exams. Finally, I carefully suggested the idea of transferring schools. At first, my parents didn't agree, but after hearing my analysis of the potential consequences, they could only sigh. People like that aren't worth provoking. There's always a reason for pity. As Diana said, it's best if we just avoid them. We'll transfer schools. We can't let this affect Diana's exams. Chapter 6. Transferring schools wasn't easy. My dad had to make arrangements and pull some strings, which would take time. Back at school, I avoided any interaction with Raphael. Whenever he walked by, I would automatically step aside, refusing to engage in any conversation with him. When I did speak to him, it was cold and distant. Soon enough, everyone in the class knew that I despised Raphael, to the point where even breathing the same air as him made me uncomfortable. At first, Raphael's days were miserable. His appearance and poor academic performance put him at the bottom of the class. But once it became clear that I was deliberately targeting Raphael, my enemy, Gloria, showered him with kindness. She helped him get food, tutored him, and did everything I had done for him in my previous life. But she wasn't doing it out of genuine concern. She simply wanted to prove that she had better character than me, to show how kind-hearted she was. In doing so, she aimed to make me look more evil. Gradually, I noticed that Raphael's gaze shifted from me to Gloria. I wasn't sure when it happened, but suddenly, Raphael and Justin, his former bully, started getting close. The two were often seen with their arms around each other. Someone told me that Raphael had given Justin a large sum of money, covering his meals and cigarette expenses, making him Justin's lackey. Raphael grew his hair long enough to cover the burned half of his face. Looking like a rebellious teen, they would often stand in the hallway, leering at girls and making crude comments. They bullied smaller boys and mocked girls who didn't meet their standards of appearance. If Raphael had been a victim before, he had now successfully become a bully himself. Because of his disfigured face, the school principal turned a blind eye to his behavior. I began to feel that something was seriously wrong. But my dad brought good news. He had found a school for me, a prestigious high school in the city, secured through all kinds of connections. The transfer could be completed as soon as next week. I breathed a sigh of relief, feeling the weight of my anxiety lift at last. At the same time, I decided to put my plan into action. Avoiding Raphael was the last resort. Before leaving, I had to teach him a lesson. I planned to give Raphael a gift, something harmless if he behaved himself in this life. But if he acted like he did before, this gift would force him to drop out. The opportunity to carry out my plan came soon enough. On Friday, the school would hold its spring sports event. After the event, the high school students would get an extra day off for the weekend. In my previous life, it was during this school sports event that Raphael publicly confessed to me. Chapter 7. After observing Raphael for some time, it seemed like he no longer had any feelings toward me. After all, the person pulling him out of the mud had become Gloria. Although Gloria and I didn't get along, I saw no need to ruin someone else's umbrella just because I had once been caught in the rain. So, during the afternoon of the school sports event, while we were free to do as we pleased, a boy came running over to Gloria. Gloria, someone's waiting for you by the grove near the garden. It's a popular guy. The boy grinned, his smile suggestive and sleazy. Almost every school had a grove like this, an unspoken rendezvous spot for romantic meetings. In my previous life, this boy had come looking for me. In this life, as expected, it was Gloria he came for. Gloria tilted her head with an air of superiority and said, "Who is it? I'm not going unless I know who's asking." Despite her words, she was already smoothing out her clothes, preparing to go. I deliberately stuck my foot out, tripping her. Gloria stumbled and fell flat on her face. Furious, she scrambled to her feet. "Diana, are you crazy? What did I ever do to you?" I coldly stared at her. "You'd better not go. If you go to a place like that, aren't you afraid the school principal will catch you in the act?" Gloria's angry expression suddenly calmed, and she smiled oddly. "Are you jealous because you heard that a popular boy wants to confess to me? I mean, it used to be you getting all the confessions with that seductive look of yours. No wonder. But now, with your ruined reputation, no guy would be interested in you." I felt a wave of disgust. How could this girl not recognize good advice when she heard it? "If you don't want me to go, then I'll go just to spite you. If you have the guts, go tell the principal. I'm innocent, so I've got nothing to fear." With that, Gloria ignored everyone's attempts to stop her and headed straight for the grove to meet her admirer. I shook my head, unwilling to meddle any further. But today was a critical turning point from my previous life, and if I wanted to set my trap for Raphael, I had to get involved. Thinking it over, I whispered a few words to the girls I usually hung out with. Then, I stuffed a loudspeaker into my backpack. I stood up and followed Gloria. Chapter 8. I had just stepped into the grove when I saw Gloria rushing out. Panic-stricken, her hair was a mess, and as soon as she saw me, she grabbed my hand. "Diana, help me! Those boys who called me here have bad intentions. They want to hurt me." "Where are they? What did they do to you? Do you want me to tell the teachers?" I still remembered how, in my previous life, Raphael, after failing to confess to me, tried to force a kiss on me to prove our intimate relationship. Could it be that Gloria had also been forcefully kissed? "Don't tell the teachers. If you do, they'll think I'm dating. My mom will kill me. Can you just go and warn those boys? They're always afraid of you. Can you scare them off for me?" Gloria's eyes darted nervously, yet she kept pushing me toward the grove. I knew something was off, but I went along with her, following her into the trees. No sooner had I entered than a group of about 10 boys appeared around us. They were the same delinquents who always hung out with Raphael and Justin, along with a few others from outside the school. They cheered and laughed. "You really pulled it off, managing to trick even our class leader into coming here." Gloria's demeanor immediately changed. She brushed her bangs aside and laughed playfully. "What are you waiting for? Bring out our leading man. A confession scene needs a main character, right?" Raphael was pushed forward by the group, his usual timid expression still on his face. My eyebrows shot up. Raphael strutted up to me, trying to act suave. "Diana, I've always liked you. I hope you'll be my girlfriend." I stared at Raphael, as well as Justin and Gloria, who were standing behind him, watching the scene with amusement. I was completely baffled. How could Raphael still be confessing to me in this life? "What exactly do you like about me?" Raphael thought for a moment, looking at me as if lost in a memory. "I like how you always seem above everything, like a pure lotus that rises unsullied from the mud." I felt sickened by his description. The group around us erupted in jeers. "Come on, say yes. You should feel lucky that Raphael's confessing to you. Don't you know he's a big deal now? He's the boss of our class." A toad and a swan together? Now, that's something I've never seen before. Haha, Raphael, don't just stand there. Be bold, kiss her. How else will she know you mean it? Encouraged by the others, Raphael grabbed my hand, trying to get closer to kiss me. I recoiled in disgust, trying to dodge him. Gloria, enjoying the drama, immediately shouted, "What are you guys waiting for? Help Raphael out. Hold Diana down. I want to see them kiss today. Ha ha." As the group began to close in on me, I swiftly pulled out the loudspeaker from my backpack and turned it on. The sharp feedback noise made everyone instinctively cover their ears. I brought the microphone to my mouth, eyes resolute as if I were making a solemn vow. "Get away from me! Do your parents work hard to send you to school just so you can waste your time on nonsense like this? How about doing some practice tests instead? You guys clearly have no respect for the teachers and all the effort they put into you. Unlike me, whose only focus is on studying hard to get into a good school, you thought you could drag me down into your mess? Dream on! And you, Raphael, conspiring with outsiders to bully your own classmates? How dare you, after everything the school has done for you, giving you scholarships and financial aid? No one looks down on you because of your family's situation, but your actions show that you have serious problems with both your character and your values." The shrill noise, combined with my passionate speech, left them too stunned to react. By the time I finished, there was the unmistakable sound of applause from the edge of the grove. The principal, his bald head gleaming in the sunlight, had appeared, along with our fuming homeroom teacher. They pushed through the crowd. "Well said, Diana. No wonder you're always receiving awards for being an exemplary student. You're a role model for all." He pointed at several boys. You, and the rest of you, get to the office immediately. And bring your parents. And you lot, who I've never seen before, are you from outside the school?" The outsiders tried to flee, but the principal caught them in the act. One of them shouted, "It was Raphael. Raphael and Justin invited us here. They said the sports event made it easy to sneak in, and they told us there were pretty girls in their class that we could mess around with. Whoever Raphael had recruited, they had no problem ratting him out completely." Raphael's face turned ghostly pale. In the next second, he dropped to his knees in front of the principal and homeroom teacher. "Teacher, it wasn't me. Justin forced me into this. He's been bullying me for a long time, and he made me do it." How convenient, they were both trying to shift the blame. Justin, of course, wasn't having it, and the two started accusing each other right away. I threw in a casual remark. "So, was it Justin who forced you to extort money from your classmates too? Care to explain where all that money you've been giving him for the past few weeks came from?" As I spoke, I pulled out a piece of paper from my bag. "Teacher, here's a list of students that Raphael and Justin have been extorting money from. You can ask them yourself to see if what I'm saying is true." Raphael's face drained of color completely. I had achieved the effect I was aiming for. I looked down at Raphael, still kneeling, with a mocking smile. He stared back at me, wide-eyed with disbelief, as if only just realizing that all of this had been premeditated by me. From the moment I followed Gloria here, I had already sent a classmate to notify the principal and homeroom teacher. I hadn't anticipated that Raphael would confess to me again. I thought, at most, he would just try to get back at me for the way I had treated him lately. But this outcome was even better. Chapter 9. Because I had prepared the loudspeaker in advance, the events that took place in the grove quickly spread throughout the entire school. Most of the people involved were already on the principal's watch list, known for being troublemakers and the worst performers in class. So, the principal decided to make an example out of them. He summoned the parents of all those involved, including Raphael's. Ironically, I was praised by the principal for my outstanding behavior, for blowing the whistle on the extortion, and for helping my fellow students. As a result, I was publicly commended in front of the entire school. I successfully distanced myself from the situation. In the school office, it was the first time I saw Raphael's father. He wore a worn, dark blue work suit. His skin was tanned, and his back was hunched with a large lump on it. His hair looked like it hadn't been cut in ages, and he was covered in dust, as if he had rushed straight from a construction site. The moment he entered the office, he knelt directly in front of the homeroom teacher. Without saying a word, he began kowtowing. He looked like a humble, honest man, but I stood by, watching coldly, for this was the man who, in my previous life, had murdered my father. This honest man had stabbed my father 18 times, each one fatal, and escaped justice due to his mental illness. I took a step back as my parents arrived at the school, looking confused by the scene. My father, sensing my fear, placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Diana, don't worry, we're here. We'll stand by you." I nodded. I wasn't afraid. This time, I wouldn't make the same mistakes. The homeroom teacher seemed a bit uncomfortable with Raphael's behavior. "Mr. Raphael's father, please stand up and speak properly. We called you here to discuss Raphael's education, so there's no need for this." Only then did Raphael's father stand up, turning to look at his son. Without a word, he kicked Raphael hard in the legs, knocking him to the ground. "Teacher, whatever my worthless son has done, I'll make sure to teach him a lesson." Despite his father's violent outburst, Raphael remained silent, his head lowered. Even after being kicked to the ground, he didn't utter a sound. The homeroom teacher tried to intervene. "Mr. Raphael's father, please calm down." She explained the situation from start to finish, but once Raphael's father heard the story, his gaze shifted to me. It was a strange look, eerily similar to how Raphael had always looked at me. He mumbled under his breath, "All this fuss, just for this girl? I thought it was something serious. My son sure has a way with women, doesn't he? If he's already courting a pretty girl like this in school, he won't have any trouble finding a wife later." Raphael's father's words left everyone stunned, especially my father, who was so enraged that he nearly got into a fight with him. Raphael's father, however, quickly dropped his submissive act. Grinning with his yellow teeth, he taunted my dad. "What's the matter? Did I say something wrong? Why is this my son's fault alone? A fly doesn't land on a seamless egg. This girl must have been leading him on." "Shut your filthy mouth. I don't want to beat you up in front of the teachers, but like father, like son, neither of you is any good." My father's face was red with anger, but he restrained himself. This was the result of the warnings I had given them in advance. Otherwise, he would have already charged at Raphael's father. Now I finally understood why my normally composed father had lost his life in an argument with this man in my previous life. Raphael's father was even more despicable than his son. "Dad, don't let someone like him get to you. Your daughter has done nothing wrong. Let's just call the police and report Raphael for attempted assault." As soon as I mentioned calling the police, Raphael's head snapped up, as if he had suddenly come to his senses. He rushed forward to stop his father, desperately explaining, "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. My dad has mental problems, so please don't take what he says seriously. I beg you, don't push us into a corner. Please, have mercy on us. After all, we're both disabled." Raphael knelt in front of my family, playing the sympathy card perfectly. Even the homeroom teacher, seeing this, couldn't help but say, "Maybe we should let it go. Diana, your teacher knows you're a good student, but as you can see, Raphael's family situation is tough. His father has a mental illness, so there's no need to escalate this by involving the police. Besides, you kids are going through adolescence, things like this happen. No serious harm was done, so why not let it slide?" I firmly replied, "It's too late. I've already called the police. Raphael attempted to assault me and extorted money from other students. If the school can't resolve this, let the police handle it." My goal all along was to make this situation as public as possible. I wanted the police involved. That way, Raphael wouldn't dare spread any more rumors about me. Now, everyone knew that he had conspired with outsiders and tried to assault a classmate. With that as the backdrop, if he ever dared to defame me again, I'd sue him for slander. Of course, if I managed to get him expelled, any rumors he spread would be irrelevant to me, because this time, my parents wouldn't be harmed, let alone lose their lives over this. Raphael always thought of himself as a victim, deserving of help, pity, and sympathy from others. He believed that his crimes carried no real consequences. That was what fueled his arrogance. Seeing that I wasn't going to back down, Raphael dropped his facade of weakness. He glared at me with bloodshot eyes, hissing, "Diana, you're so cruel. Do you really want to ruin me?" I like you, just because you don't feel the same. Does that mean you have to destroy me? And I didn't even kiss you. How can you call that assault? Ruin him? I was merely giving back what he had done to me in the past. And now, he couldn't handle it? Your so-called affection disgusts me. And by the way, since you didn't succeed, it's called attempted assault. I didn't say any more, and my father had calmed down, because the police had arrived. Raphael, having repeated grades, was already 19 years old this year. I was only 17. His actions were considered attempted assault. Even though he didn't succeed, it was still a crime, and I could still press charges. Most girls, however, wouldn't escalate things like this. They would suffer in silence, too afraid of ruining their reputation. It was society's low tolerance for women that was to blame. Gossip spreads quickly, but the truth takes time to catch up. There were always too many people willing to believe the worst. I had learned that lesson well in my previous life. I hadn't done anything wrong, so why should I suffer the consequences for him? Chapter 10. Raphael, Justin, and Gloria were all publicly criticized by the school and given serious demerits. However, Justin's family had some connections, and Gloria had good grades, so the teachers chose to be lenient with them. Only Raphael, being the special case, faced an uncertain punishment. He had transferred into the school due to his unique circumstances, and both society and the school had always shown maximum tolerance toward his family. The parents of the students Raphael had extorted, after seeing the condition of his father and his disability, hesitated and eventually decided not to press charges. They were afraid of public backlash. With the police involved, Raphael shifted half the blame onto Justin, including the bullying he initially suffered at their hands. Since these incidents had indeed occurred, the teachers were more inclined to believe that Raphael had been coerced. Finally, the result was announced. To my surprise, Raphael was merely suspended from school for 1 month. In my previous life, when rumors spread about me, the school had immediately decided to expel me. Shortly after Raphael's suspension, a video suddenly appeared online. The video showed Raphael and his father being interviewed at their home. They lived in a dilapidated house, the room in disarray, with nothing but a broken bed frame and a few worn-out quilts. Raphael's father wiped his tears as he cried. The school's punishment of my son is too harsh. I know that because his face was burned. He's not as good-looking as the others, so he's always been bullied by his classmates. But I never thought they'd force him to leave school. What did we do wrong? Is it so hard for disabled people to find a way to survive? My son has always been well-behaved, living with me and studying diligently. Look at the awards he's brought home from school. How could he ever do something as outrageous as harassing a classmate? This must be a misunderstanding. I hope that girl can see this and help us clear things up. The camera zoomed in on the peeling walls behind him, which were covered with old award certificates, most of them from elementary school. Raphael, too, looked into the camera and said softly, I don't know why that girl hates me so much. She's always been flirtatious at school. Maybe she misunderstood me because I glanced at her one time and thought I liked her. But that's not true. I'm just envious of her being such a good student. I hope she can explain the truth. The video gained enormous attention shortly after its release, with likes quickly surpassing 1 million. Nearly everyone online was searching for the so-called girl who framed him. And as expected, that girl was me. Of course. They didn't mention the extortion or any of Raphael's other wrongdoings, though Raphael hadn't spread the rumor that we had slept together like in my previous life. This time he used a video to imply that I was promiscuous, leaving room for endless speculation. Public opinion was both terrifying and dangerous. By this time, I had already transferred to a new school. This had always been part of the plan, regardless of whether Raphael was expelled. I had wanted to leave the environment of that school, its students and its atmosphere, since it was only a distraction to my studies. I had thought that distancing myself from Raphael would protect me, but I hadn't anticipated that, in this life, the father and son would resort to using online exposure to destroy me. I took a deep breath. I had known it wouldn't be that easy to get rid of them, but I wasn't entirely without a plan. As the public outrage grew, people soon uncovered my personal information. Almost everyone believed I had falsely accused Raphael. They felt that someone from a background like his couldn't possibly do such things. Society often shows a lot of tolerance for people with disabilities, but what they didn't realize was that there are both good and bad people among the disabled. And Raphael and his father were bad people, hiding behind their disabilities. They took advantage of society's sympathy and compassion for the disabled to hurt others. My parents were furious and wanted to post a video to prove my innocence, but I stopped them. In a situation like this, explaining wouldn't help. The only way to quell such rumors was with a bigger story. Right now, the entire internet viewed Raphael as a model student, someone from a poor, disabled background who had overcome adversity through hard work and perseverance. But what if his dark side was exposed? When Raphael had been trying to curry favor with Justin, he hadn't exactly been behaving well. As the entire internet praised Raphael, and several universities extended offers to him out of sympathy, a new video surfaced that quickly went viral. This time, it exposed Raphael's habit of making inappropriate jokes with female students and even charging younger students for protection fees. At first, no one believed the video, but soon, more and more videos were released. Some were just people trying to ride the wave of Raphael's notoriety, but others were genuine. One particular comment stood out. "I know the Raphael from that video. He used to live next door to me when we were in elementary school. Do you know how he got those burns? He snuck into our house to steal something and accidentally knocked over a stove, burning our house down. His face got burned, and he even sued us for a huge compensation. Who would believe that?" That comment quickly garnered over 100,000 likes. More and more people began to dig into Raphael's past and expose his wrongdoings. They started questioning the authenticity of the sob story Raphael and his father had spun in their video. I didn't even have to lift a finger. They had weaponized public opinion against me, and now they were being destroyed by it. All those kind-hearted people who had planned to support Raphael's family withdrew their offers. Raphael and his father, once public darlings, suddenly became pariahs. As for me, I stopped paying attention to the father and son. They could no longer affect my life, and whatever they said from now on, no one would believe them. I heard that Raphael's father lost his job over the scandal. Enraged, he broke into the construction site late at night to steal electrical wiring to sell for scrap. He was caught, and in the ensuing chase, he accidentally fell from a building and died instantly. Raphael, relying on his father's death, constantly harassed the construction company for compensation, but the owner of the company declared bankruptcy and fled, with no compensation and no means to support himself. Raphael's life reportedly became very difficult. Meanwhile, I had started fresh at my new school, focusing on my studies. Epilogue. One evening, I went out to the movies with my friends. On the way back, a dark figure suddenly emerged from an alley. It was Raphael. He looked utterly defeated, his eyes fixed on me. "It's all your fault. You've ruined my life. Are you satisfied now? I have nothing left." I quickly composed myself and quietly told my friend to call the police. "What happened to you was your own doing, not mine. You did this to yourself. No one else forced you. It wasn't my fault." If Raphael could understand that, he wouldn't be here, saying these things to me now. But I feared he was desperate, and if he tried to take me down with him, what would I do? Sure enough, he soon pulled a fruit knife from his sleeve. He laughed as he looked at me. "I've been having this strange dream lately. Do you know what it's about?" In the dream, on my first day at school, I became your desk partner. You took care of me, brought me breakfast, helped me with my studies, and whenever someone bullied me, you fought them off. In the dream, you were always so kind to me. So why did things turn out like this? You love me, don't you? You're just afraid of what people will say, right? I know everything. Raphael seemed unhinged, but I furrowed my brow because everything he described had happened in my previous life. I had always worried that Raphael had been reborn, just like me. If that were true, he would have been able to predict all my moves. But as it turned out, I was overthinking it. Now, though, Raphael seemed to have regained memories from the previous life. I stared at him coldly. "You're delusional. Even if that dream were real, why would you think someone helping you means they're in love with you? Even if you really did like me, would hurting me be the way to show it?" "Raphael, I've told you before, Being loved by someone like you makes me sick. Logic told me that I shouldn't provoke him, but I couldn't swallow my anger. My friend nervously tugged at me. He's crazy. I've already called the police. Let's run to a more crowded area. Raphael continued to glare at me, suddenly breaking into a twisted smile. Is that true? That dream was real, wasn't it? I knew it, but it's too late now. Did you also have that dream? Did you try to get rid of me first because you didn't want me following you around? All I ever did was like you. You're so kind, why couldn't you accept me? I took a deep breath, laughing coldly. Raphael, you still don't get it, do you? Love isn't something that can be forced. And love doesn't mean hurting someone. You didn't give me anything but pain. If you really loved someone, you'd work hard to be worthy of them, not drag them down into the mud with you. Raphael stared at me, taking slow steps toward me. I'll never be good enough for you. So if I can't have you, I'll drag you down. Once your face is ruined, you'll finally accept your fate. With a maniacal laugh, he lunged at me. I grabbed my friend and ran. By this point, because of my procrastination, the police had arrived, and they quickly apprehended Raphael, disarming him. Raphael was taken into custody. Attempted murder, that charge would land him in jail for a few years. As I stepped out of the police station, I finally felt a sense of relief. The street lights flickered, and a kind officer offered to escort us home, reminding us that it wasn't safe for young girls to walk alone at night. As we passed through my neighborhood, I saw an elderly woman selling vegetables late into the night. I ended up spending all the money I had to buy everything she had, gently urging her to go home early. Even though I knew from news reports that this was often a scam, the old woman smiled, her wrinkled face radiating kindness. She carefully picked out the best vegetables for me and returned my extra change. Young lady, you won't be able to finish all these vegetables before they go bad. I appreciate your kindness, but you should head home early too. It's not safe out here. There are many people in the world who are in unfortunate situations. Some of them are genuinely kind, but some of those unfortunate people are also hateful. Wherever you are, whenever it is, the first rule of helping others is to ensure your own safety. May there always be more goodness in the world, and less darkness, and may kindness never be taken for granted.